All right, folks, tough one to swallow. I'm not sure, Josh, how you feel about the end of the game coaching. I don't know if it was TV's best coaching job, but I don't know. I wasn't in the huddle, so I don't know what the instruction was. But we're off to a really good start for a really good stretch. Like with about 4 or 5 minutes left to go, looking good, smoothing. I'm sorry, smoothing, sailing really smoothly. Sorry, I was looking at a text. Smoothing really smoothly, sailing really smoothly, and just the brakes came off, and it was like a perfect storm. Like everything just went wrong.
Yeah, that free throw shooting finally came back to bite them. That being said, I'm kind of with you. I do have some questions about some of the decision making strategically. I personally, I don't know how they get the ball with 5 or 6 seconds or so there, and they're running up court, and we have like a million fouls to give, and we don't even give a single one. I would have preferred. Honestly, I think if my count was right, I think you might be right. There were three there to give.
Really good.
Me personally, I would have tried to give two, but you absolutely, I feel like, have to give one. So I'm not real sure on that. But also, hats off to him. I mean, he hit a crazy shot. The bank was open, I guess, at midnight, and it just kind of is what it is.
Bank was open late tonight. I'm always in favor of fouling, especially when you have three to give, right?
Yeah.
And as Lance was saying, McNeil at half court, I think there was like 4 or 5 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
Still got to take the ball out two more times,
Mm-hmm.
right, before you foul again. If you take give two, and then even if you like, I don't know. So you get beat on the free throw line versus getting beat if something crazy happens on the free throw line. Right?
Yeah.
With maybe less than a second, right?
Yeah. And
The shot. The other point is like coming down court. You know, oh, it's tough for me to do this. Talk about criticize a player, but I'm not sure if Rhodey should be at the game that late.
yeah.
And it takes that shot. I was trying to figure out Lance, who's making some comments. Lance and I were trying to figure out how much time was on the shot clock when Rhodey took that shot in the corner.
On the clock, there was, I want to say it was just under 10, like about 8 or 9 or so, probably.
Shot clock, 8 or 9 seconds on the shot
Yeah,
clock.
that's roughly right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That's what Lance had come up with.
Yeah. I don't know. One thing I don't get, and this kind of goes back to last night's game too. Maybe I just don't understand the rule. So apparently, you can foul off ball in college, and just whoever you foul goes to the line.
Yep.
Okay, so I think I might remember that. I'm sure you probably remember this game from Ty's freshman year. Was there a situation in the ACC tournament where Jack Salt actually had to do something where he like ran off the court trying to get away from being fouled?
That sounds familiar, but I don't remember.
I want to say it was like in their first game against like maybe Pittsburgh or something. I don't really remember the best off the top of my head, but I remember like a weird scenario where Jack just took off like sprinting the other direction, like he was running from something, and we found out it was because of this weird rule. Which personally, I'm not gonna lie to you, Mark, I don't understand the whole concept of college basketball. Then, I mean, I guess you want to try to deny the inbound. If you can get the steal, obviously that would be better. But at the same time, like if you don't get the steal, why would you not just grab the biggest guy on the court? I don't. That's a really awkward, dumb rule to me that I don't follow and makes no sense. But that's, I guess, what post games when you lose are for, complaining about stupid, obscure rules. So kind of sucks though. I mean, man, that was tough. Reese had a great game, another double-double. I think he's only about 6 away now from getting the all-time season record for assist. So it'd be great if we could at least get one more game in. I don't think. I personally lean to on the bubble thing. I think we're in. I don't think that there's enough bubble teams out there for us to not be at this point. There's a few bed stealers, but there always are. Not every single team that was on the bubble fighting won today. And I thought going into the day, we already had, kind of some space to where we should be safe. That being said, of course, we'll all find out Sunday. For everybody listening, we're planning on doing a reaction show Sunday. Hopefully it's to good news of who do we match up with and how do we think it's going to go, and not just complaining about what could have been. But unfortunately, you lose in this situation, you got to sweat that out.
Yeah. Sunday night. What time are we doing that, Josh?
So planning on doing it as soon as the bracket is out, or at least our part of it is out. I got to look. I think the selection shows at 6.
Usually
So I
6.
would say at least by 7, something like that. We'll put it out there on social and in the forum and everything, announce it for good there. But as soon as the bracket comes out, we're planning on hopping on. Anybody that can, we'll just do a quick little review of what our bracket looks like, what our fate is, if we're in the NIT, what that looks like, I guess. Hopefully not.
Yeah, I wonder if the committee takes in how we lost tonight into consideration.
Yeah, so I think that's a big thing. My general thought going into tonight, I don't do the whole bracketology thing, but just from kind of looking at trends and how that they usually, take teams. To me, it seemed like as long as we didn't get blown out, we should be safe, at least in the tournament. I personally tend to lean towards we shouldn't even be in the play-in. I kind of have us as a 10 seed, which, if I'm being honest, again, that's about where I wanted to be. Obviously, if you can win the ACC tournament, that's great, and it would have been awesome. And like I said earlier, we only have 3 ever. Ty's got one of those. That's great. But if you can get it, that's great. But it's not the end of the world, especially this year. I think that the 1 seeds are so much stronger than the rest of the field. I don't think it's a bad thing to avoid potentially moving up to an 8 or 9 seed. It's a fine line you're walking because you don't want to end up in a play-in situation. But I'm hoping that we hold and we get a 10 seed. That's what I'm kind of looking for.
Yeah. The other issue is that there are a lot of multiple conferences with number 1 seeds losing. Right, several mid-major conferences. The number 1 or number 2 seed, Indiana State, for example, lost early on. They won the league, but lost in the second round. Do they get in, and how does that affect UVA? Louisiana Tech, I don't think they're good enough to get in. I don't know if they'll get in anyway.
No.
But there are a couple of conferences, and we'll review those. I'm going to review them over the next couple of hours and try to measure whether UVA's chances of getting in are.
Yeah, I think the best thing for us this year is no quad 3, no quad 4 losses. I do think over time we've seen that that's been a very key thing. Like if you can avoid those, you have a much better chance. Like if you have 2 quad 3 or 4 losses, but you have like 4 quad 1 wins, usually the losses seem to outweigh the wins. Yeah. So I think that does play into our favor. I've seen a lot too here recently. I don't know when they started doing it this way, but they don't just say quad 1 wins anymore. It's now quad 1 and 2, like combined record. And I believe between the 2, we have 10 wins. So, I mean, I think we're fine. I'm not sweating it out, but I'm kind of like making the face, like a little nervous about it at this point.
Well, I'm not sure how many quality teams we beat overall this year, right? Beat Texas A&M without 2 or 3 starters, right?
Yeah, they only played without Radford that game, I believe, because Henry Coleman ended up going.
Yeah, but even I think they were missing their top scorer, whatever it was. Lance just said the A10 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds are out.
Yeah, the A10 that's Dayton, right? And that where they are
out. I don't know who else might get in.
Dayton would be the only one I would think would be for an at-large there.
Well, right, but even
I think they're in. I think that's going to be a conference that gets 2 in. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll see, right? But I know the A10. I don't know what's going to happen with the MAC, right? Mm-hmm. Akron was in second place. The first team, I think Toledo was the first place team and lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bill, I agree. I feel badly. Nothing you can do about it now, right? And hope they'll be celebrating on Sundays if they get in, but feeling horribly if they don't, based on this game, knowing that they had the game won, just let slip out of their hands for multiple reasons. I'm always going to be a proponent of fouling somebody no matter what. Of course, we're just not a good free throw shooting team, and I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything you can do to fix that. I mean, the easy thing to say is whatever they're doing in practice, do the exact opposite, But I don't know that either way that's good. If they're practicing taking 500 a day and you go to less than 100 or even 0, I don't know that fixes it either, But I don't know. It's a wild thing. Again, honestly, I do kind of tend to believe that the free throw issues lean into the mental fragileness, I guess is the nicest way to put it for this team. Like we've talked about, when things start to compound, things start going bad. A lot of free throws can be, a mental aspect of it's just you at the line. You're in this arena full like this. The whole nation's watching this big tournament.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that can be tough, man. I mean, it takes a certain level of intestinal fortitude to do like what Kyle Guy did. And some people have it, some people don't, just flat out, and it's something that I do think one benefit, I guess, is a lot of our team is pretty inexperienced, as far as at least like guys that'll be back that can try to make a difference. Isaac's been a pretty good free throw shooter. I just expect him to keep getting better. A guy like Rhodey is only in his second year. If he's around, he can maybe get better. Dante's a young guy. Tane's got another year. So, I mean, there's room for growth there.
They will all get better. Absolutely. While they're getting better, we need them to be a little bit better tonight. 1 for 13 from the bench tonight.
What's that?
The bench was 1 for 13.
Yeah, there was hardly any bench scoring tonight. A big issue there, not trying to single him out, but Jake Groves not providing more than 3 points kind of hurts, especially when he had the big game last night, went for 15. But that being said, though, man, we had such a great game there, especially down there at the stretch where, Tane's hitting threes. Isaac is unconscious there for a few minutes. Everything's just going right, and it felt so great. And then next thing you know, we commit a silly foul, and then we don't make our free throws, and then we don't foul. They bank a shot. That's what happens in March. That's just part of the game. It's part of the beast. NC State, truthfully, I don't want to be like doing that thing where you just kind of act like you don't deserve it. But NC State's probably the best 10 seed you're ever going to see for a conference tournament. They truthfully, I thought, were a team that would be a bubble team. They just didn't happen to get those wins down the stretch because their schedule was crazy backloaded, where they played North Carolina and Duke both in the last week. But that being said, now they have a chance to kind of right that, and they could steal an auto bed tomorrow, which would be nice for me, I guess, prove me right that they're a tournament team, but kind of sucks that they knocked us out. So,
right, especially after you beat Duke, you beat Virginia, and now you can beat Carolina. You certainly deserve, even if it wasn't the ACC championship, you deserve to get in, right? 3 straight second nights.
Yeah.
Great question, Steve. I don't know why we didn't double the post, which is typically what UVA's defense is, doubling the post. I know Big Daddy Burns is a really good passer, but he got some long arms in his face, but he was Jordan Minor was no match for him in the second half and an OT, right? Late in the second half and an OT.
Yeah, I didn't get I don't know that I want to say necessarily doubling the post, but there were a lot of instances where I thought that Ryan was kind of playing like almost like a middle zone type of position there when he was trying to back in, that I thought Ryan could have elevated, on the shot and tried to block it. The way he gets up, I thought he could have tried to make a play there. The one time we did double, the ball did kind of bounce around, and they did end up finding an open guy. But that sometimes happens. I mean, I don't necessarily know that they made the play as much as they got the bounce. Same way with we had the triple block there, kind of reminiscent of back when Justin was playing. And instead of the ball falling to our 3 guys that are standing on top of it blocking it, it just so happens to take a weird angle and fall out to their guy Diarra for a quick lay-in.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, especially when you're talking about hitting 2 bank shots to 1-2, send it to overtime, 1 earlier in the game.
So let's talk about that for a second. They had the bank shot to go into OT. They had the play where the ball bounced into their guy up the double team, right? And Diarra makes the layup off the block, and then the ball bounces up off of Big Daddy Burns' hand pass, and they find Mikey McConnell right on the basket. But I'm not sure why you didn't double the post. I'm not sure why you didn't foul. I'm not sure why Rhodey may have been in the game late. I'm not sure why he took that shot in the corner. So lots of whys. I'm not sure why we didn't do certain things tonight.
Yeah, it was just tough. I'll tell you, I was texting a buddy of mine, back and forth kind of there as the game was winding down. And before O'Connell hit the shot, which it's crazy to think he's the one that did it because of what I'm saying here, I text my buddy and I said, look, this is a team that plays the ISO. They like to kind of play the hero ball style. So the worst scenario you can be in with them is letting them get a shot for 3 to either tie or win, because they have a team full of dudes that are willing to take it and potentially can't hit it. So it was kind of wild to me that like the ultimate teammate in O'Connell was the guy that ended up being the one to do it, not DJ Horn. Truthfully, I just kind of assumed Horn would take it himself and try to do his own thing. But you just got to tip your cap to him, I guess. I mean, he made the shot, and then they played better in overtime than we did. I mean, it's just kind of the way it was. Yeah. I think they scored on all but, 1 possession in overtime?
Yeah.
So what do you do?
They just do that mismatch with Big Daddy Burns. And did you hear him say, after the post-game interview, he was frustrated because he wasn't getting fouls called for him. So he had to just listen. I don't disagree. I'm not. It depends how you look at it, right?
It was so physical both ways. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily that. I will say, you know, I've watched that replay probably about 30 times now, and they were probably lucky that the game was played in Washington, D.C., because that screen he set on Tane is probably a crime in about 48 states. He completely loaded up into that and really threw it. He even had his arms up like here, you know, and he's straight into it. So it goes both ways. I mean, the officiating wasn't the worst thing in the world. He certainly benefited from some calls. I would say we benefited too.
Yep.
But it is what it is.
That's right. And nothing we can do about it now except just think about how we can get better and maybe think about it next time. Do you foul? Do you not foul? I was, again, proponent of, I think you got to play the percentages, and I think you foul, especially with 3 left. And I don't know how many seconds, you know, at half court, I think there was about 4 or 5 seconds left in the shot clock. And Sean Knowles, embarrassing that we can't make a free throw. It's free. I mean, it's free. Listen, yeah, but the problem is, Sean, I hear you. And just trying to be sensitive to the guys, it's got to be such a mental thing, right? You're going from practicing while, you know, you're not just practicing while you're in a gym with no fans, but because you've been in those situations before, right? Throughout the course of the season, and we're just not a good free throw shooting team, no matter how you want to slice it. Reese missed that one. McNeely misses one. Sometimes it happens, right? And man, 3 seconds at half court, Lance is letting us know when I believe we should have fouled Mikey the first time.
Yeah. Well, here's a good one.
Yeah. I know.
I agree with. I yelled pretty loudly at my TV when Ryan missed that little kind of bunny instead of just going up and tomahawking it. I mean, he could have slammed that down with ease. I thought, at least, you know, for as athletic as he is and what we've seen from him. That one had me pretty upset. Same kind of thing with the play to Minor. It was a semi-fast break, if you want to give us credit for a fast break on that, where he was completely up the court. I mean, there was nobody within 15 feet of him. And I think Reese probably took about too many dribbles before he got the ball up to him. He ended up on a weird angle because he ran so far he couldn't really see the basket. By the time he could see it, 2 guys were on him, and I think we ended up just fumbling it away.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about this game and how we let it slip. Yep, I would agree, Taylor. Yeah, but we know we're not going to get points in the paint, right? Except for Ryan Dunn on finishes from either an alley-oop or a dish off with somebody attacking the paint, and the big man coming over defensively to help out, and Ryan being open and catching being on the receiving end, recipient of a pass, and going up and dunking it. So, I mean, we can debate. Nothing we can, other than that, there's nothing we can do, unfortunately, right? And then we can cross our fingers about Sunday.
Yeah, tough loss. Hopefully we hold on for our spot in the tournament. I personally believe that we deserve it. We don't have those bad losses. We did beat, you know, Clemson by the metrics is a top level team, and we went on the road and took it from them. So that's a pretty big win as far as at least that goes. We beat multiple other teams kind of flirting with the bubble. You know, Texas A&M got a huge one over Kentucky today. We beat them head to head. Florida, I've been calling that one since the first week of the season, that game was going to be huge as far as like paying dividends later. Another game where, you know, I think your guy actually was at Pullen that missed that game.
Say that one more time.
Your guy Pullen, right? Missed the game, Zion Pullen.
Yep.
He didn't play in that one. I don't know how much the committee is really going to hold to that, though, because you could kind of do that all day with like, well, Dante missed some time, and, you know, we beat Texas A&M without him. We played Memphis without him. Jordan Minor is a complete opposite of from where he was in the first part of the season.
Right.
Isaac missed the Wisconsin game. You know, I mean, you can sit and just go through stuff like that and try to figure it out, but I don't know how much they do that. Truthfully, I don't even know how much, other than, you know, teams stealing beds, that the conference tournaments really play into the seeding. I think as a general consensus, they probably have a decent ranking of where teams are going into conference tournaments, and as bubble teams win, they just kind of have to slide and adjust. I don't think they just wait till Sunday and go into it blind and say, okay, like now we have to make a field. I think they've already got a general idea.
Absolutely. And I think they have different formulas. If so-and-so wins here, if so-and-so loses here, absolutely. They can't wait until Sunday and start guessing. They've got to be sort of fiddling with it throughout the course of the later part of the season.
Brian's got a good comment here.
I completely agree. Completely agree, Brian. I don't get it either. But
this is something I've been campaigning for, Mark, privately, is we need more Jay Willie shows because you do the best job of asking said questions.
thank you.
I don't know if you have any interest in it, but if you could get into doing the Coach's Corner show with Tony, it'd be even more fun. That's one thing. Hey, if you're here listening to our post-game show, if you can't get enough of it, Mark's shows the Jay Willie show. Very, very top-notch. Sometimes there's things maybe Jay Willie can't say, maybe things Mark shouldn't ask as much or, whatever. But for your money, if you want to hear what the coaches think, it's the best show.
We'll try to get one prior to Thursday or Friday.
That'd be awesome.
After the selection show, yeah, we'll try to get something going Monday or Tuesday. So, again, we are on Sean, perhaps.
That's a tough one for me. Honestly, if I'm ranking them, I personally believe that we deserve to be about a 10 seed. I'd already said that. And I think Pitt should be a team in the play-in scenario. Teams that go in, they won at Duke, they won at JPJ, they got a double bye, they made it to the semis. They check pretty much every box. They do have a few bad losses, but I think those wins can kind of cover those warts.
Yeah, I think they do. I heard Corey say the other night, 2 weeks ago, I said I think we're going to get 5 to 7 teams. The ACC is going to get 5 to 7 teams in. I heard Corey Alexander the other night last night say that ACC is going to get in 6 teams. I think it's going to be 5 to 6 teams, right? So
yeah, 6 maybe if State wins tomorrow. I guess. Unfortunately, I do think that Wake played their way out, which sucks because I really thought they had the talent that they could have pulled some upsets even. But no, 5 feels right.
So, does Clemson get in?
Clemson, yeah. Clemson's probably like a 6 or 7 seed.
So you've got Duke, North Carolina.
Yeah, so I would have Carolina as a 1 seed, Duke probably as a 3 seed now. I think they had potential as like a back-end 2 seed, but I think now they're a 3 since they lost out early. Clemson, I think they'll be they should be a 7. They might get a 6, but probably a 7 seed. And then I would say Virginia at roughly a 10, and Pitt is the real bubble team right there in the play-in. I think Pitt should be in personally, but we'll see what happens.
That's 5 right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's 5. Okay. So you're predicting 5. What we also might do is hopefully have Sugar Shane on, who will be who's unveiling his own. What's Corey played great game? This config, yeah, absolutely. Sugar Shane may be unveiling his bracket, so we may try to get a look at that.
Okay, good.
We should be ahead of Michigan State. Josh, you can comment on that before I can. I don't know the metrics for both those for Michigan State. I don't know, but I heard during the game today, I was watching Michigan State and Purdue play, and the announcer was saying Michigan State's absolutely in.
Yeah, I don't know. Michigan State is kind of in the same grouping with Villanova for me. I'm sorry, I don't see how a team with 14 losses could be anything more than potentially a play-in team. This idea that they should be like some type of seeded team just makes zero sense to me. Now, if they would have beat Purdue today, I guess maybe you got more of an argument, but they had their chance. They swung and missed. They had Braden Smith went down. I don't think it was for very long. We were texting about that earlier today, but I think he was only out for like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But still, it was, an opportunity that they had to try to pounce, and they weren't able to do it. Kind of the same thing with Villanova, another team that had their opportunities all year long, and they finished roughly 500. I don't know how, if you're looking just saying us compared to them, since that's the question here, how a team that's only got 9 losses doesn't get in over a team that has 14 losses, especially when the team with only 9 losses has no bad losses. It just kind of seems mind-boggling to me. Like if our losses early in the year, when we were taking our lumps, would have been by, say, 10 points instead of 20 or 30 or whatever the case was, our metrics would be like 20 points higher. Like there was a point, before the last couple of weeks where we would have had the exact same metrics as Kentucky had we not have lost by a gazillion points a couple times,
Right. Yeah. We did get smoked by Wisconsin. We did get smoked by Memphis. The pundits have been, Chris Foley saying that pundits have been talking 3 ACC all year. I think that it's got to be at least 5, maybe. Yeah, I can't see 6 now.
Yeah, I think 5 is probably right. 4 is the low end. 6 is the max if State wins tomorrow. But I think it should be 5. One thing, too, that some of these pundits, like I'll give Greenberg credit for this, they've talked about how conferences like the Big 12 have manipulated the net all year long, where they basically scheduled nothing burgers and they're out of conference, beat the brakes off of really bad teams to improve their metrics early. That way, when they play each other, essentially every game, on the road is a Q1 game.
Right.
which is a dirty way to game the system. It's pretty annoying, but
I'm not sure it's a dirty way because if all those teams are really good and they're just going to beat up on each other, you hate to get if you're a good team and you get 8, 9, 10 losses, and then you play out of conference and you play some really good teams and you lose 2 or 3. It's a tough way not to get in, right? If you go play on the road, play Duke or play somebody's in some early some early Christmas tournament. Yeah, I would agree with that too, Brian. Way too much weight on early season games, right? Because then you're peaking at the end of the year. You're either playing well or you're not playing well, and and I feel like that's how you should be evaluated. Where your team is now, not where they were 3 months ago, 4 months ago, right? Things happen, things change. Teams get better, right? Injuries, whatever it might be, right? Evaluate me toward the end of the year, right? From the middle to the end of the year and how I'm playing now, right? Evaluating me in the beginning of the year. It's the first 3 games, first 5, 10 games. What does that mean? Right? And things are going to change. Teams are going to absolutely make adjustments. Teams are going to grade it in a certain way that they're not playing come February, March. So I'm completely agreed.
yeah, there was a good discussion on this on the forum too. Dave the Wave, our friend, actually brought up playing, say like 4 conference games into December and earlier, before the new year. I personally like the idea too. I agree with it. I don't know that I liked the year. I think it was right after the title that we tried that like opening night conference game. That was kind of a disaster. I wasn't a fan of that. But if you get a week or 2 under your belt, I don't see a reason that you couldn't play them. And it would be awesome too if they could move, like say the SEC Challenge, if they could do that, kind of like the was it the Big 12 SEC was, where they play like at the end of January.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the funnest games I think we've had in the regular season, it kind of sucked that we didn't end up winning it, but I'm sure you really enjoyed it, was that Villanova game that was at the end of January. Just that was awesome. 2 heavyweight teams going at it and just a random middle of the season like that. That was fun. I think we should get more of that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. It's makes great for February. Get out of conference and see what teams look like than the traditional just in conference, just rotating in conference games, right? Unless you have like 5 of the top 15 teams in conference and they're all playing each other, which makes for great games. But typically, that's not what's going to happen. So I absolutely agree with that, right? And I think that that's part of when you have these challenges. But that's so I'll either maybe move those to January, early February, so you get a different look, and now we can rate with some of the conferences. Yeah, the Nova home and home is awesome. I agree with that, Chris. But I don't going back to Nova. I can't imagine Nova getting in. I can't imagine Kyle.
Yeah, they should definitely be out at this point. There's no way. Michigan State, I think, maybe has a slightly better argument than Nova does at this point. But Nova especially, man, they had chances right there at the end of the regular season and in their conference tournament. They, unfortunately for them, didn't come up with either. Creighton hit that big shot to beat them there, and then losing today. Just St. John's is another team. They had their opportunity. And I'll tell you what, that was an elite level game. I don't know if you watched it, but it was very good, very high level basketball. But that being said, it was only 1 game again, and they didn't get, they swung and they missed. So I don't know that they should necessarily be out, but these are the kind of teams that I look at and I'm like, okay, we're at least above them, in the pecking order.
Yeah, based on what the bracketology is that I've been watching and they've been showing on ESPN, it sounds like St. John's is in.
Yeah, they feel kind of like a play-in team to me, or maybe they end up being an 11 seed that doesn't have to do the play-in, but they're right there.
But it's also a good story, right? New York City, Pitino. Not that I'm a Pitino fan, right? But it makes for a good story. It makes for like more attention to the tournaments.
Oh yeah, and can you imagine the storyline if for some reason we and St. John's end up being play-in teams and they match us up? Pitino versus Tony on a Tuesday night. I mean, I guess it wouldn't get better than that for ratings or whatever, but I don't know that they do that to us. I think there are other teams that are slightly behind us that probably deserve to be in that I don't think we get bumped, and I think that they're probably the ones you're looking at more as the play-ins.
Yeah. If that game happens, I will be there. Definitely go to that one. So
yeah,
I'm signing off. Early morning for me, and we look forward to seeing you on Sunday night at probably around 7:00.
Yeah, around 7. Like I said, as soon as they put out our at least portion of the bracket, we'll be looking to log in and get this thing going. So I'm sure everybody, if you're here at this random time of night watching this, you're going to be tuned into Selection Sunday. So just be sure to tune in. As soon as you see our bracket, check with Locker Room Access. We'll have the show rolling.
Bill, I think it was Bill that said that we needed a show for late night therapy. So I'm with you. I feel much better already. So, Bill, thanks for staying on with us and checking us out. Good night, Jen. Take care. We will see you on Sunday night, please. Take
See
care.
you Sunday night. Go Hoos.